Nowadays, I would say 2 days ago or 3 days ago, there were publications in your country about cloning of embryo. Very curious phenomenon. They're not doing cloning whatsoever. Because cloning means that you get a new individual out of tissues which have not been obtained by sexual reproduction. That's the definition of cloning. Now, what they did is a splitting of embryo, that is artificial twinning, which has nothing to do with cloning. Cloning would be to take one cell of a living individual and to have it grown into a baby. And I will tell you tomorrow, we have the proof that it's not feasible. But they use the word cloning just to make selling the paper. But this artificial twinning is not a breakthrough, because it has been made previously in goats, in sheep, in cattle, and it's not a breakthrough of science. It's a breakdown of common sense, because they use human beings as if they were animals. And that is a big zoological mistake. There is another use of embryos nowadays, which is another curious phenomenon, that is the cannibalism of 2 months embryos by old men. You know that some people, it started in Mexico, some people decided that they could take some cells of the brain of babies of 2 or 3 months of age and include those cells of the brain of the baby inside the brain of people affected by Parkinson's disease. That's agitance paralysis. The result of more than 50 experiments is very poor. There was no cure whatsoever. But there has been article in all the papers, newspapers of the world, because it was presented as a useful system exploiting the good things, which was abortion. Because with abortion, you would get those spare pieces. Now, you have to read, if you have time, what was written about that, and it was extremely curious. Because a man wrote a very learned paper in Lancet, and he said what was the technique to take correctly the brain cell of the tiny fetus. And he said the best is between 2 months and 4 months. And he said the best for him is 3 months of age of the fetus. And to take the brain when the heart of the fetus is still beating, so that you get good cells in good shape. Now, it's really, when you read that, it's written in great tranquility, very nice English, plain English, and you have the impression of reading a film of horror. And the name of the man who wrote that paper, you would not believe me, but I'm not joking, it's true. His name is Hitchcock. It's unbelievable how sometimes destiny is playing with words and telling us, just look, understand, listen. And we generally don't. There is a pretension that we can do everything with the law, that we can even change the right. And that has led to a very curious and tricky system in England. And if I was Hamlet, I would say there is something rotten in the kingdom of somewhere. Because they voted finally 2 years ago that law allowing experiments an embryo less than 14 days old. And they have issued a recommendation from a special embryo authority. And it is plainly written, the only thing which is forbidden is to, after manipulation, implant that embryo in a non-human animal. That's written in English, in a non-human animal. Which means, on good logic, that for the writer, there are human animals. Because if he has to specify that there are non-human animals existing, then man is an animal. And that is a very interesting phenomenon. Because if this law of England tells the truth, this law does not exist. Because any law can be enforced in England only after the assent of the king or of the queen. Now, the queen has signed the law, but the law says that there is no human being until the 14th day. So the law applies to the queen as well. And the law was applying to the father and the mother of the queen and all the ancestry of the queen, so that if the law tells the truth, the transmission of the crown of England has been interrupted at each generation by an intermediary animal, at least for 14 days. Now, because there is no proviso in the law of England that any animal, whatever the age it has, can inherit, even provisionally, of the crown of England, then if the law tells the truth, there is no Queen of England. Now, if there is no Queen of England, that law cannot be enacted. And then that law does not exist. And that's very interesting to see. If just you look at the fact as they are written, that the law cannot do everything. The law cannot negate nature, and it cannot negate itself. And when they have decided that humans were not humans until 14 days, they had, without knowing it, suppressed the whole legitimacy of the Constitution of England. What can we do to that? Because I was speaking about the respect of the embryo, the respect of the couple, we have now to fight for the respect of mankind. I'm a little ashamed to speak about that, because I'm coming from the country of Pasteur, and it is also in France that the first anti-human pesticide has been put on the market, the RU486. And I've read in the newspaper in France that one of the first statements of the actual administration was to force the Food and Drug to accept that deadly product in your country. Now, this is extremely interesting, because this technique of killing babies is now killing 1/3 of the babies aborted in France. That's the official statistics. They are not mine. 1/3 of the abortion is now made in France with that technique. And that technique is curious, because it's made with two products. One is mifepristone, which is an anagram of Mephisto. And this product destroys the mucosa of the uterus because it's an anti-progesterone. It blocks the site at which the hormone, which helps the pregnancy, is working. But it's not enough to kill most of the baby. Only 80% of them are killed. So that they use a second one, which is a prostaglandin, which provokes contraction of the uterus. And what they use, it's really a binary ammunition. And it is the law, generally, when you begin the chemical warfare, to use binary ammunition. Generally, it's not in the same shell. The two products are different. It's only at the explosion that it becomes a toxic. And it's exceedingly remarkable to see that the first product of chemical warfare against non-yet born human being has been of this binary type. Now, what can we do? How can we persuade people that if we continue to kill our own kin, we are killing our soul? Because the children of a country are the soul of that country. I know it's very difficult today to speak about human nature, and it is even more difficult to speak about supernatural phenomena. But remember, the people who want to suppress natural virtues, like the love for the child, they know that if those virtues are destroyed, no supernatural virtue would survive. Because natural virtue has, so to speak, the ground, the humus, the earth on which the supernatural can blossom. And they are very correct in their deduction that if they refuse to revere the Son of Man, then they have to make the war against the sons of men. Then what to do? If they are Christians, there is still a little hope. We can maybe teach them, very simply, because it had been made by the most known doctors of any time, I mean St. Lucas. They remember that at visitation, the little prophet was quickening in the womb of Elizabeth. Elizabeth was 6 months pregnant. The angel had told that to Mary. And Lucas is a good doctor. He transmitted the information to us. But it does not say a word about the age of the human form of our Savior at the moment that the tiny 6-month-old prophet recognized him. It says only that after Annunciation, Maria festinavit. She went to the mount rapidly. And you know, in this country, the trips cannot be very long. Even riding a donkey, or even going barefoot. Then Lucas is implying that human form, the human form of Jesus, was less than a week, maybe a few days. At the moment, an early human being recognized that he was the master carried by Mary. You know that there is a very common subject for paintings, which is delightful, which is Jesus in front of the doctors. As a young boy, and they see marvel about what he says. Now, what we need now is that it is the doctors who come in front of Jesus.